Now, we're kicking off today by talking about a new crackdown on people who earn a bit of extra cash on the side. Online selling platforms such as Vinted and eBay, Depop, Airbnb even, they're going to be sharing details of how much money their customers are making. Now, that means that people who use these platforms for the so-called side hustles could soon be liable to pay tax on that money that they're making. We're going to be joined today by financial expert Emmanuel Asuquo, who's going to be explaining exactly who will be liable to pay more tax now. But first, let me ask you two, side hustles. Tessa, do you do a little bit of side? I mean, you write books, you appear on shows, so you're doing enough things already, but do you have any other side hustles you want to admit to right now?
My entire life is a hustle. In fact, I was just trying to haggle my fee up with the producer, but she wasn't having it. She gave me 4 bits of fruit instead. I wonder if they also have to be tax deducted. I'm going to ask Emmanuel in a minute. There are questions around this, aren't there? There's always, at some point in the year, you have to weigh up how well it looks like you've done.
Yeah.
Are you going to have to pay any tax? Are you going to fall into the first tax bracket or the second tax bracket? And I have a sort of roller coaster career. It goes like that, depending if there's been a death in the royal family or something. So, literally, if I'm honest. So I have to weigh up, therefore, if it's worth talking for £100 in the local village hall. Mm-hmm. And I'm VAT registered. So then, you know, is it justifiable then to take my teenage daughter who does the PowerPoint and have her paid instead? Now, these are moral dilemmas.
That becomes her side hustle then.
That every freelancer has to consider. I mean, Jeff, you must have been in a similar situation. Do you rent out your 7-year-old under the guise of you?
No, I just think that like tax is finally catching up with society. There's a very simple rule: if you earn money,
he's evaded the question there like a politician. Did you see?
Look,
he so rents out a 7-year-old.
Let me be absolutely
clear.
On this. I think if you earn money, you get taxed on it. And if the money was earned in a place that had a cute little name like Etsy or Vinted, or that's just my pocket money. No, it's got to be taxed. I mean, I make a very small amount of money doing newspaper articles. I can't just pass that off and go, well, that's my little chump change that I take on holiday with me. One thing I will be excited to know from Emmanuel is my wife does great work getting rid of Christmas toys that were exciting for about a minute on Facebook Marketplace. I'm very much hoping that isn't affected.
Well, let's jump into that. Emmanuel, let's start by what have the HMRC announced, and is it very different to what we were all meant to be doing before the announcement?
Great question. They haven't announced anything new. There's no new tax. This was a tax that had always been in place. If you earn more than £1,000, you need to declare it. Now, what they are now saying is that for these online sites, if you sell more than 30 items or make more than 1,700, these sites will now let HMRC know. Now, even if they let HMRC know, you may still have no tax to pay, but HMRC will get in contact with you to say, we've been made aware that you're making X amount or you have X number of sales, you may have tax to pay.
So this is really important. 30 items, if you've sold more than 30 items on a single platform, they now have a duty to tell HMRC about you, or if you've made more than £1,700.
Yes.
But that's ridiculous. I mean, those 30 items it could be me reselling my Jeremy Vine pen for £1. I would never dream of doing such a thing, incidentally, of course, and I expect it would retail at much higher than that. Yeah. But just because I've sold 30 of them doesn't mean I've got something that's worthy of tax.
No, but it means that you're being active, you're selling, right? So if you're selling more than 30 items, they want to know what's happening.
I do think that 30 seems a bit arbitrary.
Yeah,
the question
totally
I'm
arbitrary.
interested in is what information are they sharing with the government? I think it's fair to say that this person is an active seller, but in terms of income, is that their right to actually pass that on to the government? Bank details? I'd hope that wasn't in the mix.
No, it wasn't. It's not bank details or anything like that. What they're letting them, what they're informing them is that you made more than 30 sales and you've made more than 1,700. Really, it's €2,000, but it works out 1,700.
Okay.
And then it's then you to then present.
That's really badly pegged, by the way, because at the moment the pound is worth 86.
All right. Let's. I think we're touching on it here, but let's look at closely who will it and who won't be affected.
So if you are selling toys or selling old clothes that you're not wearing anymore, you tend to not sell them at a profit. You tend to sell them at a loss. Mm-hmm. Therefore, you are not trading, and therefore you're not going to have any tax to pay.
But I've got a question. Even if I've spent loads on my Versace and I resell it very badly, if in the resale I still recoup more than £1,000, do I have to declare it, if only to prove that originally it cost me more, therefore I haven't made a profit?
That's not really how it's designed. So, because you wasn't trying to sell it. It's more if you're trying to
But I was trying to sell it.
But you wasn't trying to sell it at a profit.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
were
about
repeatedly
trade.
buying Versace and repeatedly
If you-
making a profit.
Exactly. So we have people that buy trainers, exclusive trainers online, and they know that when they put it online and sell it, they're going to sell it for a profit. What you're saying is you bought something, you didn't like it, and now you're selling
It
it.
depends whether I get trolled on Jeremy Vine. That gets
So
resold.
If you are reselling used stuff that you've got lying around the house and you think, do you know what, I'm going to put that on, get a little bit of money for it, 30 items, or if you're making more than 1,700 quid, that's when that platform is going to tell the HMRC. And also you should be declaring that income anyway to HMRC. Let's move on to whether or not you're buying in order to sell, which is slightly different.
Yes.
So if you've got that eye of like, oh, I could pick that up from this little antiques place that I found, put it on eBay or another platform, make more money, then what happens?
Well, that's a business. So if you're a business,
Now you're trading,
Now
right?
you're trading, and you're a business, you expect to pay tax just like any other business would expect to pay tax. So if you make more than £1,000 trying to make money, then you need to declare that.
Could I make a point here? And it's going to sound frivolous, but it's a genuine point. My mum used to love a car boot sale back in the day, right? And what you used to get was traders, and they would get there early, and they would pick up bargains, and you'd literally see them selling your thing for double the price that they paid for you.
Galling.
By the bacon sandwich place, later in the day. But is that, I know that's at a very small level, but would that count as buying in order to resell?
Yes, definitely.
But it's cash at a car boot sale.
So
Cash is king.
We're going to come back to that.
I hope you're not
what we do
advocating
to-
breaking the
No,
law.
I don't know.
I'm
I don't
just
know what I
putting
just heard.
Putting the moral question.
I don't know why that should make a difference.
It's a good question from Tessa. We'll come back to that in just a second. So this is going to affect people who are buying in order to resell.
Exactly.
Now, if you are doing that as a business almost in trading, do you have to tell HMRC that you are trading?
So, good question. So, if you are a business and you're registered as a business, so you're registered with HMRC, register your business name, and you register your company, then you would need to tell HMRC that you're registered. Even if you're not trading, once you've registered, you need to say, I didn't make any money this year, or I've been dormant, we haven't made any sales or anything like that. But you need to let them know.
All right, so we've dealt with people who are just getting rid of clutter for a little bit of money.
I've got another question to ask. I'm really sorry to interrupt.
Does it relate to what we're
Yes, it
talking
does relate to this.
Okay,
if you're self-employed
you're
anyway-
allowed to ask it. Go on.
If you're self-employed anyway, and then you decide you're going to sell your Versace dress online from eBay, and so into my account comes 100 quid, do I also have to declare that along with my Jeremy Vine fee?
No. If you're selling it at a loss. If you're selling it at a profit, then yes, because it's income.
Okay,
God,
moving
it's
on.
crazy.
Moving on. How about the people who are now making stuff in order to sell it?
Yes. So again, that's a business. So if you make jewellery at home and then you sell it, if you make more than £1,000, it needs to be declared.
Or if you sell more than 30 necklaces?
No, the 30 part is only for the companies to use to tell HMRC.
I hope you're taking notes at home, by the way.
But people are taking notes at home, and this will be up on our YouTube channel, we should say.
So
you'll be able to find it online. Okay, so if you're making stuff in order to sell it, once you've hit £1,000, you need to let the HMRC know.
Yes. So almost like the lemonade stand. If you got, when kids sell lemonade outside, that's not going to be, once that makes more than £1,000, it would need to be declared.
If they're suddenly selling that lemonade at Glastonbury and all the big festivals, slightly different thing.
If they're lacing the lemonade with Daddy's drinks cabinet.
Now, a lot of people watching will wonder what will happen if they are on benefits, for example.
Yes.
How would any of these three scenarios affect your benefits?
So if, again, the reselling at a loss or anything like that around the house and so forth, that's not a problem. That's not going to affect your benefits. However, if you are trading and you are making money, a lot of these benefits are means tested. So there will be an assessment. If you now declare it, there will be an assessment, and potentially it could have no effect, or it could reduce your benefits.
So, for example, when you're single, you're claiming universal credit.
Yes.
I think the threshold is, I've got it here, just under £17,000, 16,967. Yeah. If what you're making pushes you above that, then you are in danger of losing
potentially.
Universal
If you go
credit.
2,500 over, then potentially that.
So that's something you need to keep an eye out. Let's take a question from Vivian, who got in touch on Facebook. She says, isn't it only trade sellers who have always been taxable, or is there more to it?
Yes, it's always trade sellers, but the problem is that a lot of people didn't consider themselves to be trade sellers. So you were buying stuff, selling it at a profit, making money. You didn't consider that. you consider it like your little pot of money on the side, as it is a side hustle. You didn't see it as something that you needed to declare or pay tax on.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I get what you would like. People that might have been on Etsy putting inspirational memes on pillows for a while.
Exactly.
And then over the years, suddenly they're making 4 or 5 grand a year of it. They still think of it as pocket money, but maybe the Treasury don't.
It's like Jeff with his funny money. One day he was just telling a joke in a pub, and people were paying to shut him up.
Did you say people were paying for me to stop? I'm not sure that is the best sell.
Let's take another question. Tessa is going to get herself into trouble today. I know, I can feel it coming. Sharon on Facebook says, what are the rules when it comes to pricing items over the amount you've bought them for? I think that's rule 2, isn't it? That you're buying them and then selling them for more.
Yeah, you're selling them for a profit. So then that's
effectively you're trading.
You're trading. Once you know that you're selling something for more than what you bought it for, you are trading. Whether you feel you're a trader, whether you feel like you're a business, you are a trader. And if you make more than £1,000, you need to declare it.
OK. Now, let's take some of your calls. Liz has got in touch from Kent. Liz, good afternoon. What would you like to ask?
Well, I'm just curious. I help organise a community craft fair on a monthly basis. Now, I was watching this programme with interest because I would imagine that most crafters who attend craft fairs have got no idea about this as being classed as extra income. But yes, they're making things to sell, but they're definitely not businesses. These are normally mums with spare time on their hands making things. How is this going to affect craft fairs generally going forward?
Emmanuel?
It falls within the rules. So if you are selling and you make more than £1,000, you need to declare it. You are considered a trader. It's considered business, and therefore.
So even if you're making like a couple of £100 a month because you've made bracelets and you go to a craft fair, you have to declare that.
But also remember, there might. When we say tax due, there's any expenses that you have will be taken away. So any of your costs for buying...
So getting to the craft fair...
Exactly. Buying the materials,
right.
All of those, you might have to pay for a stand. All of this type of stuff can be deducted. And most people would be a 20% taxpayer. So we're only talking about 20% of after your costs.
But we're talking about something much greater than that. And it's the time spent, registering, fiddling about, inputting all your receipts, inputting your expenses, declaring what you've earned. So the fun bit in the village hall with Liz, I want to hang out in that trade fair, but then if I've got the burden of the administration, that is killing me, even if it's to prove I've made a loss.
But Tessa, I think that people are being a bit coy in a way. We know deep down that if you make money and you turn a profit on something, that you have to ultimately pay tax on it. This is just like, the gig economy has been going on for a while, and it feels that all that's really happening here is we're catching up with the way that people can earn money on the side.
You sound like a right Grinch there, because, Jeff, we're talking about margins.
Well, all right, so the money I make from newspaper articles, I go, well, that's not very much, I'll just keep that for myself.
No, because you've got the infrastructure of being self-employed up and running already. But if, say, I'm working, and I don't know who does your fair with you, Liz, but maybe, as she said, mums, busy, maybe do part-time job, a nurse.
They now need to set up...
office. So they now need to do all that administration just to prove they're not making a profit in a village hall.
OK, Liz, thank you. That's a very good question. I think a lot of people watching will have been alerted to what they should be doing. Let's take another question from Julia in Cornwall. Julia, good afternoon. What would you like to ask?
Hi there. It's just more just to state how ridiculous this is, because the government will never be able to monitor it. So I just think it's more of a statement than a question, really. And to say that, of course, if you're doing it full time, you would, of course, declare what you're doing if you would want to, for national insurance and, other reasons. But if you're just doing it on the side, which is what most people will be doing, then, you're not making a lot of money, and it's absolutely ridiculous that the government would expect you, it's surely, if you're just selling, you can't even, most of the time you can't remember what you even paid for items, because I like to sell online. I can't remember sometimes whether I got it in the sale, how much I paid. A lot of my stuff would be new, but sometimes I would buy bargain stuff to sell it on because I think I can make money. But it's time, you're spending your time doing it. So how much is your time worth additionally? Julia,
you mentioned you sell stuff online. Do you keep a running count of how much money you've made each year by selling stuff online?
No, because I sell hardly anything. But to be honest, I'm actually going to start selling online again very soon.
Well, you better keep an eye on it, because I think if you go, what we've been saying, if you go above 1,700, then you have to inform the HMRC.
Yes, I understand that. I do get it. But at the end of the day, what is classed as a profit? So obviously how much you pay for something. So then if I sold something for, say, £30 and I paid £20 for it, that would only be £10 profit. So exactly. I guess I'm only paying money on the amount of profit I make, if you see what I'm saying.
I think it's interesting.
Julia, thank you. Yeah.
I think it's interesting the use of the phrase "on the side" there. We do have a place, and we all have it in our minds where we think, oh, it's just a bit extra, and it doesn't count. But legally and in terms of tax law, it's always counted. One thing I would say is at a time when we're supposed to be recycling, it would be a shame if this policy interrupted the free cycle market, which is actually quite a good way of not using up natural resources.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point.
I love that green note. That really suited
I'm all about the planet.
Let's take another question on social media. Anita on Facebook has got in touch to ask this. What are the rules when it comes to things like car boot sales, which you mentioned? And again, I think Julia was touching on that. When you've got, big markets, car boot sales, everything's done on cash, very little sort of receipts and things like that, people haggling away. What do you do there?
The honest truth is that it's based on your honesty, right? So it's based on your honesty as an individual.
Tax become an honesty bar.
No, and that's with all of us. Even if you're a business owner, they don't come and check your bank account. You tell them I've made X amount, and your accountant puts it through and so forth. So it's always the system is based on us being honest individuals and telling the truth. Now, what will happen is that over time, if you don't, you could get found out. And if you get found out, you could get fined and so forth. So it is down to you telling the truth.
We've had some extra questions as well. People want to know, because, again, you open this sort of folder of the HMRC to say, look, if you're making money on the side, we need to know about it. But people have got in touch with simple questions like, what happens if you sell your car and maybe you do make a profit there? Do you have to let HMRC know about that?
So good question. So cars, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to make a profit on a car because it's a depression. It goes down in value over time. And also, a lot of people take out a car loan. So again, you've got the interest that you've paid on the car loan over time as well. So let's be honest. People are asking questions that most of the time you're not going to make a profit on a car. If you bought an antique car and then held it for time and then sold it for a profit, on assets like a car, you pay capital gains tax. It's not income tax. So you'd have capital gains tax that you would be due.
That's sometimes higher than income tax.
Yeah, sometimes. And obviously it's on an asset.
But there's a threshold as well.
There's a threshold. Yeah. You get an allowance of how much you can make. So right now it's 6,000. Next year it's going down to 3,000. So
So sell your antique car this year. Okay.
Well, actually, a lot of people have been making profits on electric cars because there's been so much demand that actually you could sell it for more than you've bought it for. But let's take one last question from Tara on Facebook. So many people have got questions about this. Tara says, what I don't understand with trying to charge people tax for selling on Vinted is that people have already paid tax on these products when they've bought them. Is this a confusion between the tax paid on an item and money earned? No,
So we pay VAT on items and so forth, and that's correct. And if you sell it at a loss, you don't have to pay tax again. I don't know how many times you have to. If you sell it at a profit and you make money and you do that regularly and you make more than £1,000, you have to declare it.
I think, Emmanuel, there's quite a lot of people that have been making a bit on the side and they just really don't want to pay tax on it. That's human instinct. I totally understand it, but you can't blame the Treasury for trying to catch up with technology.
I feel all the Treasury's doing here is making us feel bad about ourselves. Because the likelihood of any of us sitting down and going, oh, God, I've got to, just because I made £100 in a car boot sale, I've now got to go in and input it, and because I might make it again next month and next month.
Rules are rules, Tessa. Rules are rules.
A guilty conscience. You've just given the nation a guilty conscience bringing this up.
We need to fund our public services.
I'm so sorry. I thought we were trying to be helpful here. Well, look, Emmanuel, thank you. It's great to see you. Emmanuel Asuquo there with the financial advice. Now.